All right, we are pushing back. We got to push back against the main freaking issue that's going on in this country today. And what is the main issue? What's going on right now? Well, what we're pushing back against is the fact that nobody has any freaking money. That's really the big problem, right? We need money to live. That's really what it comes down to. We need money to live. So we got to figure out, how do we start? Because the people up top are greedy. Right now, 80% of Americans cannot afford a $500 emergency or $5,000 emergency. And when 80% of people can't afford what is a normal cost, a normal charge, that is not a rigged, it's not just a rigged system. We are pushing back against this rigged system. We are so sick of the greed from the people up top. That's really the issue of what's going on in this country, because it feels like 1,000 different issues going on, but it really isn't. It's just one single issue that is affecting all of us. And that one single issue that is affecting us is greed. It's greed from the people up top. And what they do is they make it seem like there's 1,000 different issues going on in the country. That there's high prices, low wages, housing costs, healthcare, climate change, foreign wars. It seems like there's all these different things, but really there's not. It's one issue. It's the people up top. Because honestly, they could fix a lot of those problems if they wanted to, but they make money off of it. And that's why they don't want to fix it. And what they do is they try to divide us. They have us pointing fingers left and right. And it's not pointing fingers left or right. The issue is the people up top. So what we need to do is to stop trying to point the finger left or right. Because when we point the finger left or right, all it really does is play into the hands of the people up top. Because they figured out it was cheaper to divide us than it was to pay us our fair share. And that's where they would rather have us point the finger at anybody except for them. So what they do is they spend all their money trying to pull us all apart because they're greedy. They're so greedy. How greedy are they? Well, all that we're saying is that if a company is successful, its employees should be successful too. I'll say it again. If a company is successful, its employees should be successful too. I think all of us agree that that is the truth. Because essentially, if you are doing the hard work, if somebody else is relying on you to help make them more money, to grow and expand their business, then you should get your fair share. But then what's the very next question everybody says is, oh, well, what's their fair share? How much is it? What's their fair share? Well, their fair share, it's enough for food, it's enough for housing, and it's enough for healthcare. Because we need those three things to live. That's why we need money, not because we're greedy. We need money for food, housing, and healthcare. And when you have food, housing, and healthcare, you can simplify those things. You have security. That's all that we want. We just want to be able to work hard and have a little bit of security. And that's all that we're trying to get, is a little bit of security. And so how much of that security have they taken from us? Well, 80% of Americans cannot afford a $5,000 emergency. And when somebody can't afford food, housing, or healthcare, do you know what happens? Well, it falls on the rest of us. And generally, in an emergency case, that's what it's there for. Most of us are happy to help out, but not in this manufactured crisis that the billionaires have pushed on us. And that's what we have to push back against, because when 80% of people can't afford a $5,000 emergency, that is not a personal failure. That is not 80,000 people forgetting how to budget, and that's certainly not 80,000 people not working hard enough. What it is it is a rigged system. And that is what we have to push back against. We have to push back against this rigged system. But how do we do it? Because it used to be we had politicians that looked out for us. They would help us to figure out, or they would help the common person to push back against these giant corporations. But we know that the corporations purchased all the politicians and they no longer work for us. The second thing we used to have was free market. We had freedom of choice. That was really important because it was competition. And that's the first thing that the corporations ran out of. They ran out all the competitions, all the mom and pop shops. How do I know that? Because I'm almost 40 years old and I have never seen a local grocery store that is able to compete with the big chains. I've never seen a local general store that is able to compete with Walmart or Target. And I've never seen a local hardware store that is able to compete with giant corporations. And if these small businesses cannot compete with corporations, then they have no competition. And if they have no competition, they can do whatever they want. And that's exactly what we've seen. And the real issue is that when you keep people not able to have security, when you make it so that people don't have security, so that they don't have access to food, housing, or healthcare, then you make them live in fear. You make them scared. They are easy to divide. Sound like a country anybody's been living in recently? If a company is successful, its employees should be successful too. The majority of people The system's rigged. That's what we're pushing back against. The system's rigged. The system is rigged. That's what we're pushing back against. The system is rigged.